X'éig Lichéesh takatiuhan, Gunalchish hati adi, Tóoch Ewutin Hasati, Sigu, Yad Achwalgini, Ya Yagi, Cajun Yagi, Ya Yagi, Kayaaní Dísi, Jin Kat Kadalkunya Wachiadis. Good to see you, everybody. Thank you for coming here. I feel good that we're together again. Today is Friday, April 14th, and a little breakdown of the days are here. And so just a review for saying today is Friday. Go ahead and repeat this phrase after me, this top one. Kayaaní yagi ya yagi.
Kayaaní
yagi yagi.
Okay. And we'll do just the second half of it, starting from aya. So repeat these three words. Repeat just these three words after me, starting from aya. Aya ya yagi.
Yagi.
And then the whole phrase. Kayaaní yagi aya ya yagi.
Kayaaní yagi aya yagi.
Okay, you sound good. Even if I teach you a whole phrase like this that feels long, there's an important connection that takes place when you're creating the sounds while you're reading it. And so even if it feels like, well, why do I need to learn how to say this is Friday? It's so long. It just becomes part of your language and your expression. So the next phrase is about the month. And go ahead and repeat this word after me, just this first one.
X'éig.
Okay, this means true. And so, and then Kayaaní, repeat after me, Kayaaní.
Kayaaní.
Kayaaní means plants. So Kayaaní is True Plants Month. And the description in Lichéesh is that it's the month of true plant budding. Whereas the previous month, March, is Kayaaní Dísi, the budding of plants that are underwater. And then I just told you how many days passed this month. Jinkat Kadalkun Yawachiyadis. So just adding this in. Jinkat Kadalkun Yawachiyadis. 10 and 4 passed this month. Is how that breaks down. Any questions on the day before we move on to our class topics? Okay. I know it's review, but it's good to make it part of our daily practice. So today we'll go over a few things. We'll have conversation practice, reviewing some of the terms that we learned last week. Oh, here's my slide. We'll do a discussion. I want to check in. I know a lot of people are traveling right now because it's the X'éig. And last week we talked about phrases around Yao, which is herring. But still, even though lots of people are gone today, I do want to just have a check-in about our language learning goals for this class and how we can stay connected to them for the rest of our 6 weeks together. And then we'll do conversation practice and revisit pronouns. So let me find my check-in. Excuse me. So to kick off our discussion, I just wanted to share with each other a little bit about how we're doing. I'll revisit the language learning interests and goals that you shared with me in January, and also just have a check-in about how we're doing. I know this is a busy time. For me personally, it's having tax week and a lot of potlatches going on. I'm a little drained, and so I just want to appreciate that you all have been with me through this time. I'm back on my feet now. I'm back in my home office, catching up on things. But that being said, does anyone else want to kind of share just how you're doing? How's your energy? It helps me gauge the level of rigorousness in our lessons. Mm. And if that feels like too much, let me not cut you off. Does anyone want to share how you're feeling, your energy level?
To share. Plain Ta here. My goals were, if I remember them right, was to learn more about conversational, have the opportunities about the conversational aspect of our language, and to learn more of the Southern dialect. I don't think we've learned a lot about the Southern dialect, but the conversational piece, the resources you have given, and just the practice in class, although stressful at times, has been great. So it's meeting my needs, and I mean, this class is one of the most important hours in my week. I will say that it's just, I've really tried to make it a priority. Even while I'm scheduling things, I just try really hard not to schedule during this time. And so for me, this is a very important time, and I'll just put in my plug, since you asked, that we can just continue, because this is so important to me, and I think to other people too. So I've told you before privately, I think you're a great teacher, and I just thank you so much for everything you're teaching us, and hopefully we can just keep going. Lichéesh.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I feel good about that. Anyone else want to share right off the bat?
Hi, this is Cheryl Sequespa, and Lichéesh for the class. I find that I'm working on my goals, of course, and that's to incorporate more of our language into my presentations that I give, and also to practice prayer. And I think what I'm finding out is our language is very medicinal. And when I get a little, on edge and too stressed out, I just put on a tape or whatever, and it really helps balance me out. And echoing what Cindy Sue said, I think you're really a good teacher. Lichéesh.
Lichéesh. Awesome. Anyone else want to share your goals and how you're feeling about how this class is connecting to them? Or areas where we can work on more, because we have 6 weeks left together, and I want to put together, it's fun for me to put together lessons based on your goals so that I'm meeting them specifically.
I think that for me, it's a lot of listening. And so I really appreciate the call and response because it just helps to keep hearing the same words again and again. And one of my goals is just to be able to have greetings and some nouns. So naming plants. So my personal project is about documenting seasons and then looking at plants where I live and then putting those words. So I'm really appreciating the way that you teach, and it's effective and it's inspiring. So thank you. Lichéesh.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. Sometimes when I teach, I'm like, am I going too fast? And that's why it's helpful to have that discussion about vocabulary words. Maybe we won't drill 10 new words in one session. Maybe we'll dial it back to 3. So this is super helpful because it helps me, do the best I can. Anyone else want to share?
This is MJ, and I'm a brand new student, and I just Lichéesh for being as advanced as everyone here is and learning, and yet how safe and supportive it is. And my goal was to engage more with my community. And so last week I did not achieve, but I attempted when I was engaging with a shopkeeper to say, yes, it's still me, because I'd been recognized from a previous visit, and made the attempt, and the individual on the other side says, I'm Tlingit. It was a community building experience. And I thank you for this place to practice and learn. Lichéesh.
Lichéesh ha inkinigi. That's one of my favorite things about learning language, is the community that I'm connected to because of it. Some of the other goals people mentioned in the beginning were place names, people's names, sentence structure, leveling up from being able to just make sounds toward expressing ourselves, spending more time per week, and also conjugating verbs. I would say we're at the very entry level part of conjugating verbs. So far in this class, we've identified verb roots, and that's a good starting point for being able to conjugate verbs. And conjugating verbs just means changing. So if I say I walk, changing it from I walk to you walk, or from I walk to I walked, or I will walk. It's just changing the way you're talking about an action or a state of being. Some more goals were proper pronunciation, use in media, speaking with respect, land-based knowledge. So use in media, I would say maybe we've covered doing a photo journal, how to caption your photos using different media, and then making sure that if you're going to share it publicly as the language, that you need it reviewed by an advanced speaker and preferably an elder. Prayer, we've done prayer. Immersion and memory, this would be a good one for us to work on. Sentence structure, nicknames for class, sounds. Here we have Southern dialect, and this was mentioned earlier. And in another class I teach with Shirley Kendall, we worked on a recording by what is her name? Denny. She's a Denny from Saxon. And we started to transcribe and translate that recording. And I could totally bring that into our next class as a class activity, since that seemed, you guys seemed like you were into that. Let's see what else. Yeah, plants, place-based relationship. So yeah, we can talk more about plants. And then useful daily language with family, clan, prayer, greetings for clan events. Kinship, there's a section in the Beginning Lingít Workbook on kinship that would be good for this, that I can take us through today. It's in a chapter that we're on, so that might be a good one. And then lastly, improving speaking skills, joining the community, incorporate language into the classroom setting, K-5, Kayaaní dialect, that's Southern dialect from Tóoch area. And so kind of after revisiting those, does anyone else want to add any more check-in, just comments about whether you're meeting your goals or how we can help you moving forward?
This is Cindy again at Plain Tlaw. I didn't want to make another comment, just a question. Is there a resource that identifies that is just around our plants, our edibles and medicine plants? Is there such a resource already?
That's a good question. Let me think about that while I type this.
You know, one resource, it's not a huge resource, but it's this Southeast Alaska Traditional Food Guide. Have you ever seen that? It's put out by Search, and it's kind of a calendar, has different plants by months, and it's pretty sweet publication.
Okay, geez. I'll have to check that out. Does anyone else know of resources right off the bat around plants?
I think I have a couple at home. I forget the name of them, but I could see about gathering them to bring them next week.
Okay. Oh yeah, Cheryl.
There's this book, I think Liz Egan gave it to me. It's,
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I found this to be really, really helpful.
And it might actually have an online version.
Yeah, it has a CD. And then for the Southern dialect, what I was thinking is, Cindy Sue, could you say something about sharing the past that you did with Clara George Pradovich?
Sure. So
I think that's a good resource.
yeah, Clara Pradovich was very interested 10-15 years ago about teaching people in the community our language, especially the Southern dialect, because all of the elders at the time who were Tlingit speakers were really adamant that this was so important to preserve our dialect and teach it. So Clara started holding classes in her home, and class size dwindled until there was just 2 of us left, and we were both cousins. One was Anutine, Debbie Head and Debbie John's Head, and then myself. And so we did work. We wanted to really inspire other folks to take the language, because that was our teacher's wish and hope, to get more people involved. And so we actually made a CD with Clara's pronunciations and words and things. And so we only made one CD. We had hopes for more, but things changed, and so we just have that one. But that is a good resource. And I think probably Anutine has had it on her. She was a culture teacher at Craig Schools at the time, so I think she probably has the master. I know I don't have the master. I'm not techie at all like that. But that is a beginning point to start. And Of course, sadly, many of our elders have passed on now, the Southern dialect speakers from Kayaaní. That's a place to start. Good for thinking of that.
Okay.
Gunashchish.
And I just had a question. Is the Wrangell dialect similar to the Hinaquan, or do you know?
That's a good question. What I would share is the presentation that Tóoch, James Crippen, brought to another class I teach last week. What I can do is share the materials and the recording of him, because what he did was a really good comprehensive presentation of dialects of Tlingit. And including like illustrations of, the writing, how it's different, how it's pronounced differently. And he made correlations between Wrangell. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but what I can do is share those resources with you to answer your question.
Thank you. Gosh.
So let me add that. We'll do share resources.
That would be great. I don't know about the Wrangell dialect, but I know Saxman dialect is different, at least according to Clara.
Okay. Yeah,
Interestingly, there's a series that was put out by Cape Box that recorded Theodore's wife, Cindy, what was her name? Alicia, recorded Alicia. And so that would be a really good Southern dialect. And I tried to go on the website and it's discontinued or whatever. And so, but I know if we could find that, that would be helpful for the Hinaquan. And her name was Alicia Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
okay. And then Emma, I'm trying to remember, is it Emma Denny? I know there's an Emma Williams, but there's a Denny that I was thinking of. I need to look back at the material I have. But I'll put, for our next class, I'll put these together and we can listen to recordings. I have some recordings and I have the presentations that James Crippen and Jeff Lear shared with our other class. And so I'll make sure I email these out and then also base our classes around it moving forward so we can have more representation of the Southern dialects.
Oh, I just wanted to say I put the link to the second resource in the chat. It's
Okay, let me open it up here.
Oh.
Awesome, geez.
And kind of on that note, there are so many resources online if you just do like a simple Google search that I mean, you can just go down the rabbit hole for days and days on whatever topic, you decide to pick. But along that same lines, I'd like to add, especially for folks who are only doing the 1 day a week, if you wanted to add more days, there's tons of the video classes online and you can just like start and continue and I find it's actually really helpful to go back and rewatch classes that I've actually been in, because it's like each time you watch it, you pick up a little bit more. So I just like to encourage everybody to do that, because it does help having that repetition.
Okay. We started to do that once in this class and we got pretty far as a group. We watched a recording of Lichée's advanced Tlingit class and wrote down. We can continue this too together. Is that something folks would be interested in? Okay. So let me add that and then the base our activities and the transcription and translation. Okay, I'm going to teach you, Han. Were there any more comments or questions before we get into our lesson?
And yeah, my other comment would be that music is also another great way, because that just somehow gets ingrained in you differently. And again, there's just a ton of resources out there, many of which actually include the some of the spelling might be interesting, but it gives you a little bit better idea. But like one thing we might want to try, which I found really nice, was and incorporate some of these other things, is I found Ed Littlefield's berry picking song.
Okay.
And what's nice about that is it's just like a couple of short phrases that he repeats over and over and over again. So that's like a nice beginning thing to like listen to, and you can, keep hearing him say it and then be like, without having to go back to the beginning and rewind all the time.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, I see a comment in the chat. I rewatch classes too. My voice is scratchy. Okay, that's okay. This is good. All right. Let's see.
Before we move on, would someone say the title of the book, Our Food is Our Tlingit Way of Life?
Yeah. So this is the title. It's X'éig, and it means our food is our Tlingit way of life. And let's practice it. And let's start with this last word, siki. So everyone go ahead and repeat after me. Siki.
Sati.
Siki. When you use the word siki, usually the previous word will have this underlined X added to it. So hakusti means our way of life, but we're saying it is our way of life. We use this combination of siki. Yeah, so go ahead and repeat just these last two words after me. Kusti siki. And then ha means our. So it is our way of life. So repeat after me, starting with ha.
Good.
Okay. Really good. Okay. And the first two words mean our foods. So repeat these two after me. Ha'akai. And so the word for food on its own in general is ha, but when you say it's our food, you add this pronoun ha for our. You also add this relational suffix. So food to our food goes from atcha to ha'akai. So let's do the whole phrase. I'm going to read it really slow and then go ahead and read the whole thing right after me. Ha'akai hakusti siki. Okay. Any questions about the title of this book? This is a really good one. And we'll probably I'll make a lesson too about plants using this resource. So we do plants. Right, hi. Acoustic city. Acoustic city. Okay, acoustic city. Okay. All right, so we're gonna revisit pronouns. When I taught this to you several weeks ago, I found that I was tripping myself up in the process of explaining pronouns because I was overcomplicating it. So I met with Kayaaní and he gave me some pointers. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna shift the way we talk about pronouns and learn about them from trying to over dissect it and literally translate it to just identifying them. So we're going to start from a place of seeing them, reading them, and starting to pick them out of sentences when we see them, rather than worrying too much about the different types of pronouns, what's the singular and plural and all that. So let's get back into pronouns. And these are independent pronouns. That's enough just to know that. And so if we're in a room and I'm sitting across from you, and there's three of us, and we each have a chair, and I'm sitting across from you, and then there's a third person, we make a little triangle. We'll just practice pointing to ourselves and reading the name of the pronoun. So the first one is Chet. So go ahead and point to yourself and repeat after me. Chet.
Chet.
Mhm.
Chet.
Okay. The second one is you, and that's what. So go ahead and point to me and say what. And then the third person is someone else. It's not me or you. It's a third person. So point off to the side and say huh.
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 And we'll repeat this a few times. Chet. What. Huh. Chet. What. Huh. Now we'll do them all three in a row. Repeat all three after me. Chet. What. Huh. Okay. So these are example sentences where we see independent pronouns. So the first one, repeat after me. Gusu wa'a. And then the response, repeat after me. Ya defet.
Yeah, the hat.
One more time. Gusu wa'a. Ya defet.
Yeah, the hat.
Okay. The second question, repeat after me. Gusuha. And the response, way duha.
Where the hook?
One more time. Gusuha. Way duha.
Where the hook?
And this third example question, what aqua?
What? What?
And the response, Khataya.
Hataya.
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 Like, one more time. Wa'akwa. Khataya.
Hataya.
Okay. So this is how we'll start identifying pronouns when we look at our dialogues. We'll just pick them out and highlight them like this.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So if they are here, it would be Yadu Hu.
You
They are
can.
here. Okay.
Thank goodness, so let's add that to our slide. So this is St. Claus noticing the spatial differences, the way we refer if they're here versus there. And so this is, we're going to include it too. So if we want to say, yeah, they're here. And I'm going to put the closest one first, and we'll go closest to farthest. So we'll do, and then if they're way over yonder, you guys remember how to say that?
We do.
Beautiful. I'm just going to check my spelling in the book. So this is in Beginning Lingít Workbook under Lingít Sense of Space, page 25. We have our diagram here for ya, ha, weh, and yuk. And then we have some words down here. So these are our examples, ya, he, we, and then you is the farthest away. The description in this book is Yudu is far away over yonder, including distant areas that cannot be seen. So it's Yudu. Okay, looks like we're good on our spelling. Okay.
How would you talk about the stars?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I can ask Jenny when he mentors me.
Carol 2019.
And one thing I would do right off the bat is look at search for stars and just see if there's example sentences just in case. Is a word for watching, meditate, weather, navigate, forecast. Watching the weather to forecast, watching the stars to navigate. This is a cool concept that X'éig taught us about in one of his classes years ago. But he would talk about people who would just sit for days in one spot or for long periods of time in one spot, making observations and then being able to forecast the weather, which I think is really cool. For a subject to navigate using weather and stars would be the verb root on. That's the same word. Weather. Unchanged. I don't see an example yet that answers your question, but I'll keep my eye out for it and ask Renee as well. Any more questions? we'll talk later on about the plural equivalents, just to keep it simple. But if you want more information on them, you can find them in the Kayaaní on page 47. But for now, what I want to do is start to pick out the pronouns in our dialogue. So I'm going to show you where this dialogue is in the workbook. And then we'll do a little activity with them. So we're going to go to this chapter, can get pronouns. Actually, we're going to start with the dialogue. So it'll be in the chapter Dísi, which is the chapter we're working on. And it begins with the dialogue. So we'll practice reading this, and then we'll work on identifying the pronouns. So the first one is, repeat this after me. Wasa iati.
Wasa
Iati.
Katiak e. Kinget get ya.
Yeah.
Skun kaidas tu. Suye kosatin. Go alsheye wutir. And this K is an underlined K. So let's practice just this word. Repeat after me. Wutir. And then the whole phrase. Go alsheye wutir. Okay. Hande ijin. Gunafchish. So this is our dialogue, and what I did was put it on a slide, and I modified the English translation a tiny bit so that it's more literal to help us understand the pronouns. But pronouns are just a way of referring to people in a sentence. And looking at our Tlingit sides and our English, where do we see some pronouns where people are being referred to? Okay, I heard some. Okay. Any more you see? Yeah, it is an object pronoun. And you don't have to have that memorized yet, but we'll just over time, as we start to look more at verbs and how to conjugate verbs, just know that this means this is a pronoun meaning you.
The ak after the guttural stop.
So after the guttural stop, we have a pro. Are you talking about this word?
Okay, nope, I had it the wrong one.
Okay. So yeah, is our verb root. And then we do have a pronoun in here. You can see in the English side, at some point we're asking someone, do you understand Tlingit? So that exists somewhere in this verb. Do you understand? This is the verb.
So yes, so then the EE.
Yeah, aware. The EE would be the you, and do you understand? Any more?
And then the EE between the ka and poof two.
This, you're really close. This E is actually to signify with. So it's being taught at school. You could also translate that as people, let's see, people are being taught. Let me find the definition in the dictionary for this word, because it's useful. You hear it all the time with Lichéesh ha'in kinigi. Thank you for sharing with us. Lichéesh X'éig Dísi. Thank you for helping me. Let me find a way to describe that. I think it's going to be at the very top, actually. And if I can't pinpoint it in the dictionary,
I thought it was a high toned E.
oh yeah. I'll go to choose. Let's see. Back to the top here. Some pronouns. I don't remember it being in a list toward the top. Let me just start. Oh, I know what I could do. So here's a list of possessive pronouns. So E can appear in different types of pronoun phrases, but in this example, we're seeing ka-e with people is what it means, or to someone. Ka is a general reference to it's being taught to people in general. But I know that's not a good description of E. I'll see if I can stir something up for next week to describe E. Okay. Good question. So E is not actually a pronoun. I would actually say ka is a pronoun, even though it's not one of the ones we I like worked on yet. But and I'm gonna add where it's not written in here, but it would be like two people. It's being taught as a general. It's being taught to people at school.
But literally it says, yes, school, the people being taught.
Yeah, let me break it down for you.
It looks like the breakdown is in the book, in the dialogue.
Oh, gonna change. Good reminder. Okay, let's zoom in. Okay. So here's the phrase, screen kaido. Did I put a high tone? Oh yeah. Here we have our gloss, which is our literal breakdown. Is yes. Schoon. So schoon is school, and then this suffix tells you at, you're at school. Ka is people. This 4HP is a way of describing which pronoun it is. So it's a fourth person human pronoun is ka. In English, we have first, second, third person, me, you, they.
Oh.
In Tlingit, you also have a fourth person pronoun, which is non-specific. It's just sort of saying someone. Okay, they describe it as an empty base. And then there's two, so to teach. for person, human, subject. Yeah. No, that's not subject. It's either two. I'm not sure about this S and 4HS. Does that help? Do you have more questions about this one?
It helped me think.
Yeah, so the pronouns actually the empty, the zero thing with the slash through it. So
Yeah,
when you look at the thinkette, it doesn't actually show up in the word, but it's there.
exactly. So there's two in the verb, there's a pronoun for to teach. And so they are teaching, and we have it here, the third person object. In Lingít, it won't show up. You'll just see just two. And then we have a second pronoun for ka. This is our people are being taught in general. So yeah, we do have an unseen pronoun here, just two. People are, they are teaching people is how I would describe that. Cool. Okay. Okay. And in this line, do we see any more? In X'éig, do we see a pronoun?
Hold on a second.
Again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have in. Okay. And this is the part that means you. I'll see you. So we're not going to get into too much of like which type of pronoun is each one, but right now what I want you to be gaining is a pattern. Okay, I'm seeing chag, and I'm seeing and yeah, and cha'i and ikquisitin. It's enough just to know that these are all pronouns, and we're going to start to gain familiarity with them as we continue our learning together.
So I have a question. So on the English side, there's two pronouns, I and you. Right?
Yeah, there are. Okay, I and you. Okay, so this is the other one, I, and I'm gonna make it purple also because we're just looking at pronouns. So does anyone know where we see the I see you again? Which part of this verb ikquisitin lets people know that it's I am see, I will see you? This is the next level question. I'm gonna, unless someone knows right off the bat, I'll show you where you can find it. So where we would find it, well, the answer will be here in the Beginning Lingít Workbook, but let's go through the process of finding it as well. So I want to look in the online verb database by Carrie Eggleston. And so what do I need to know about X'éig in order to use in order to look it up? All these entries are verb roots. So if I want to access the word I'm looking for, I need the verb root. Does anyone remember what the verb root is for ikquisitin? Yeah, the verb root is teen. And so that's what I'm going to look up in the online verb database. And here it is, to travel, see, or watch. I'm expanding it, and I'm going to look for the meaning that correlates with what I have. I'll see you. So to see a person, see him or her, here we have it, sitin, that looks like ikquisitin sounds similar to this, and it's our meaning. So I'm expanding it. The last thing I'll look at in my English translation is I'll see you. So when is it happening? It'll happen in the future. And I'm going to scroll down until I find the future form. And here I see Yekwasatin. So this kakwa is specific to I will see you. It changes, this part changes whether someone else is seeing you, he or she will see them, we will see them. So at this part of the verb, I'm going to look up at the theme. And this is getting in depth, but since some of you are there, I want to take you there. We see the theme tells us what order we put our pronouns. So these capital O and S are for object pronoun and subject pronoun. So when we look at ours, we see an object pronoun. If you're familiar with that, you are the person I'm seeing, so you are the object. So the other pronoun we see is going to be the subject pronoun. And in the future form in Tlingit, the subject pronoun appears, sounds like, let me find it, sorry, kakwa. So this is what I'm going to identify loosely as the I will see you part. Kakwa. I'll see you again. Oh no, it's the same. They're right next to each other. But it plus it means I will see you. I guess I'll change the color. I will is kakwa. So that was a really good question, and it kind of can launch you into this new pattern, this new habit of identifying when you see kakwa. You can internalize that as a future form. I will do something. If you see that at the beginning of a verb, kakwa can let you know it's saying I will. Okay, guys, we're out of time. Are there any closing thoughts or questions before we close for the day? If not, then we'll look forward to our next classes. I'll put some slides together for the topics you want to cover for Southern dialect and plants. And we'll keep working on pronouns together. This will just be a practice we incorporate into our classes, is identifying verb roots and pronouns. Okay, Lichéesh, thank you for all your work. Tóoch, I feel proud of you. See you again.
Lichéesh.
Lichéesh.
Yay.
Lichéesh.
Okay.
Okay.